Howdy folks, welcome back to another Members First deck profile. This week, I'm going to be bringing you guys Dynasmon. Now, I know this isn't a hot commodity right in the BT-23. I understand that. I get it. The thing is, I feel like people were really prepped for this set to have deck profiles ready. And there's a lot of really good profiles out there on other people's channels, and we didn't want to, like, you know, imagine us doing a Jesmon profile after Huang just did one with, you know, Umblum, our good friend Josh, and other folks, right? Like, you know, go see that profile. Go watch them. Go check them out. Do that. Don't look at ours. Go look at theirs. So, you know, we're gonna try and, like, it's been a while since we've done some more niche deck profile stuff like that. And to be fair, there is some new support for Dynas in this set with some of the newer cards. I'm not going to talk about the EX10 Wizardmon, but the new Dynasmon from BT-23 is actually an insane card. He's actually really, really good. So I just wanted to touch on, like, this, like, kind of weird, like, blend of builds that I sort of I took some ideas from our Discord, and tossed some stuff together. Done some minor, just, like, testing with it. To be clear, it's Dynas. I think Dynasmon he's really cool, and there's potential, like, to the strategy, but the reality is that you burn yourself so heavily in a format where your security gets, you know, bursted down turn 2, turn 3, that 9 times out of 10 you're probably just going to be too slow and you're going to lose, or you're going to burn yourself out and you're just make it easier for your opponent to finish you off most of the time. But there is plenty of, like, weird little niche moments where you might be able to generate enough momentum to really kind of get cooking. So you know, I'm not gonna, that's about it. I'm just a little disclaimer, right? I don't want anyone to go into this thinking like, oh my god, this Dynasmon profile is insane. Yeah, I mean, maybe, you know, who knows? It's very minorly tested. So if it does end up being insane, that's really cool. But I just wanted to give people an idea of, like, where to play pure Dynas if they wanted to play pure Dynas, because I think other people like Dynasmon probably, surely, right? So anyways, that's about it. Enough of me kind of yapping about Prelude stuff. If you're new here, be sure to please, you know, hit the like and subscribe button. Stick around. If you're a member, thank you so much for supporting us on the channel for as long as you have. We very much appreciate you. I think something I'm going to start doing is I think I'm just going to start doing polls for deck profiles instead of suggestions, because the reality is, like, the suggestion stuff worked when I was building everything, but now that we're at a point where we're more limited to what we're kind of building now in the group, doing a poll would probably be more sensible, and probably should have been doing it for a while now, but I'm going to try and get on top of that and make sure that we get that done. Anyways, profile time. So, starting things off. First things first, BT3 Upamon. This is just my choice of egg. You can very easily run something like BT14 Tokomon, BT15 Yaromon. There's plenty of other, like, okay yellow eggs that work well enough. I'm using this one because you burn yourself down to 3 or fewer security pretty quickly just going up your line. I mean, you typically will set yourself to, like, 2 security. Which is insane, but you'll set yourself to 2 security just going up your line from your rookie to your mega, if you Digivolve everything up in the front, which oftentimes you probably will, because you want to resolve some of their effects actually on the board, but at the very least you'll want to get access to some of the effects of your 5s on the board for sure. So you're gonna burn yourself down to at least 4. You can hit 3 pretty quickly. So just, you know, on attack, if you have 3 of your security cards trigger, draw 1. You typically hover around that magic number 3. A lot of them kind of keep you at 3, right? So, like, you know, Dynasx, if you have 2 or fewer security cards, recover 1. News Dynasty, if you have 3 or fewer security cards, recover 1. Like, you know, you have a bunch of stuff like that that kind of, like, looks for that magic number 3. So it works fairly well with that in mind. Jumping into rookies, 2 copies of Pillowmon, just Floodgate, stop things by being played by effect, just helps dealing with things like Eaters, Royal Knights, Chess, stuff like that. It can just be really, really annoying for them if they don't see the right setup, or you put it at, like, the right time to just make it really annoying. We run 4 copies of the BT-18 Candlemon. He's your searcher, so adds a data trait and a witch only trait of the top 3. Returns rest to the bottom of the deck. You know, you have Dynasx is data, so is Dynasmon. You have a witch only trait on Mistymon and Wizardmon, so you can potentially get double hits pretty easily. It's not the hardest thing to do. I'm wondering if they're ever going to lean more into this, because they kind of did a couple of supports, like, back to back with BT-18 and 19 for, like, this whole kind of style of deck. It just unfortunately didn't, like, pan out super well, because it just did too much damage to itself. But there's some fun stuff you can do with it still. So that's it for that guy there. Oh, I guess he also gives you protection. One of the things that's actually, I think, overlooked in this deck is that it actually has really decent protection. So The Candlemon, as well as the Tapermon that I'm going to go over in a moment, has all turns once per turn. When this yellow Digimon with the data or utility trait would leave the battle area by your opponent's effects, you can trash your top security card and you don't leave. Which when you trash security, you can activate other effects as part of that. Specifically, the new Dynas actually has an effect that likes to resolve off of security being trashed, which is really nice. And you also have access to barrier with the new Dynas as well. So it kind of works out where you're protected from battle and you're protected by effects. So you kind of get this like pseudo, very hard to remove body outside of like DDigivolve and DP reduction, which, you know, obviously are rampant right now in the game. That's why this isn't like, you know, I'm saying this like this isn't, that's why I did the whole disclaimer at the beginning of the video, right? So, but still really cool. But yeah, that's Candle. Jumping into the next card here, 3 copies of Tapermon. His on play is pretty not great. It can be clutch in some small moments to maybe like steal turn if you like a scramble gets hit out of security or something like that. But you do have to do a damage to yourself, so it can be a bit, you know, a bit spooky. But it has the same inheritable as well, just to give you protection if your data over Chelney, which is really, really nice. And then we run 2 copies of the memory blocker Tapermon from EX8 that's part of the NSO group. So just another floodgate, because you don't really have too many great rookies to work with. So you have access to some of these floodgate rookies, which really help kind of just, you know, to help you stay alive a bit longer, or you hurt your opponent after you maybe do a bit of a clapback on them. This is definitely a deck that probably doesn't want to like initiate the fight. You want to kind of, you know, clap back and damage your opponent after the fact if you can. But you have to keep in mind that, you know, you need to be able to trash security for certain effects. And if you can't trash security, you might also get hurt on that. So depending on the deck you're playing against, you're going to have to keep that in mind as you go into it. Jumping from there, under our level 4s, 3 copies of the BT-18 Wizardmon. This guy's just really good. He's a 1-cost Evo because you're going to trash your top security. You'll draw 1 and gain a memory. So it can be really, really good. And then Inherited is just the same protection effect that you have off of the Candle and Tapermon. So just a solid piece to just help you climb your line pretty quick. So you can plus a memory off of this if you like Evo using a trainer or something like that, right? Which is really, really nice. Next up, we run 4 copies of the Repamon from BT-22. So we're running a bit of the CS engine in here. It's actually really, it works pretty well because when these cards are trashed from security, they get, Repamon gets played out and the Chirinmon actually minuses 8k on something. But has on play on Evo, you just give -3 KDP to just one of your opponent's Digimon until the turn ends, so you can kind of clear out floodgates using that. But then you can choose to trash your top security card if you want, to instead give one of your opponent's Digimon -6,000 DP until the turn ends. Which this can work really well because you can, you know, get this burned off of security, play it out, do the effect, and just kind of help you wideboard a little bit in like a weird way. You can also run things like BT-15 Gatomon as well as another one that you can trash and play out. But I decided to run just the Repa and then focus on Wizards because I wanted the extra protection inherit. And the barrier inherit is nice when you're on Dynas X. But it just felt like that was pretty much it. It was just the barrier inherit, and that's like it was eh. Yeah, you don't like always super need barrier because Dynas X can climb up DP pretty high. So and it can linger as well. So that's why I wasn't like super pressed about barrier stuff. At least on him. Moving on. Last level 4 we have is just 2 copies of the Wizardmon X Antibody from BT-19. This card's pretty solid. So Evo's for 3 normally, so that's why we're only running 2 of it. But for over a Wizardmon goes for a cost of 0. And then on player on Evo, you can add your top security card to the hand. Then if Wizardmon or X Antibody is in your sources, you can place 1 yellow or purple option card with the play cost of 5 or less from your hand as the bottom security card, which is really good. It's really, really solid. It lets us place our Revelations of Light in there. It can also be nice if you're like looking for like a last kind of minute kind of like save play, like putting a scramble in there to spit out a rookie body potentially in case your board gets wiped and you just need a rookie to hit the board to be able to climb back up and do something. Like there's weird niche instances that you can like set up for that. But typically you're just going to toss Revelation of Light in there usually. Otherwise you're not going to use this effect. You know, ideally, I mean, you're gonna add the top security card to your hand no matter what you do. So you know, he's more of a choice Evo. You don't always want to go into him. You kind of choose when you want to go into him depending on how your hand's looking or what you got set up. That's it for 4s. Moving on to 5s. We run 3 copies of the Mistymon from BT-18. I love Mistymon. He's such a cool Digimon, but just doesn't really like get much love at all. He has barrier inherently, which is nice. On play and on Evo, you can trash your top security card to change the original DP of one of your one Digimon. So it doesn't have to be your opponent's, it can be yours as well if you wanted to do that. To 6,000 until the end of your opponent's turn. Which is pretty neat. I mean, you could actually use this effect to like maybe buff up one of your floodgates in a weird instance if you think that you would need to do that for some reason. But otherwise, like setting something to 6 KDP is a really unique effect. We don't see that often in the card game. I think the other Mistymon that we have as well, or maybe it's the option that does it, from like back in like BT2, it's like it was early BTs, a long time ago. So it's not an effect that we see often, but it works really well in synergy with our brand new BT-23 Dynasmon, who I'm going to go over in a minute. And he's probably the one I'm going to focus on the most because he's kind of like the reason that I'm even doing this, because he's just such a good card. But yeah, so really cool effect. And then inheritable of all turns, when a card is removed from your security stack, you unsuspend this Digimon. Having that unsuspend inherit is really good. I'm only running 3 of him because otherwise he's not like the most efficient for going up into your line. But there's totally an argument to be made to run like more of him instead of the Chirinmon. Because you can very easily like, you can OTK with Dynas with the right setup. It takes a bit of doing, but you can do it. It's very possible. So, you know, if it's something you want to focus on, obviously I would run 4 of him, and then I'll go over kind of how you would do that in a moment. But first things first, or sorry, not first things first, but next thing, we'll get to that later. We're running 4 copies of the BT-22 Chirinmon. So like I said before, when he gets trashed from security, you'll minus 8 KDP on something for the turn, which is really nice. But on Evo, you can trash your top security card. Then you may Digivolve into a Digimon card with Kentarosmon or Mitamamon in its name, or the CS trait in the hand with the cost reduced by 2. So I know you're thinking like Kentaros, Mitama, that's not Dynas, but you do have CS trait. And guess what? The brand new Dynas is a CS trait Digimon. So it's very helpful. It's very nice. So Chirinmon has that. And then the inheritable of 1 attacking once per turn, you get minus 4 KDP to something for the turn is pretty good, considering the amount of DP reduction you're doing with the rest of the deck. You can very quickly just kind of pop something fairly easily. It's not too hard to accomplish by any means. Especially like if you know, go Chirin, do, you know, or, sorry, thinking of a different play. Ignore me, never mind. Cutting that out. Keep moving. I'm not going to cut out of the video. You're going to see my nervous, stupid stammer, but cut, bad brain. Anyways, so that's the Chirin, pretty good there. Evo's for 3 regardless over a yellow, or it can go for 3 over a CS trait. So there's some other funny builds. I know, our good boy, our best boy Arby, he's currently cooking a Dynas like CS build that he wanted to mess around with, which I think is really cool. If I can get the list for that, I'll ask him to share it in the Discord probably if people are interested in seeing that. I'm not too sure how far along he is in his process of working on it, but it's just something that's kind of neat. But yeah, this new Chirinmon's really good, just for letting you go into Dynasmon for 1 cost, or, you know, for on top of that too, like even the minus 4 KDP inherit is really good for other effects as well. But moving on from 5s, moving into 6s. 3 copies of Dynas X from BT-19. Has raid and blocker inherently, which is really nice. On Evo and on attack, once per turn, if you have Dynas or X anybody in your sources, you can trash top security card of your security stack. You trash top card of your opponent's security stack, and then you get plus 6 KDP until the end of your opponent's turn. So you're gonna Evo into him, and then you're gonna instantly just burn your security, burn your opponent's security, and then get plus 6 KDP, so you're an 18k guy, just ready to kind of go crazy, which 18k is a lot of DP. It's not as high as we see some things hit, but it is enough to climb over the majority of things when it is your turn versus your opponent. And when you have access to things like raid, it makes it very good for you to be able to just remove bodies like that. And then end of your turn, not once per turn, by the way. If you have 2 or fewer security cards, you recover 1, which that's very important that it's not once per turn. I will go over why that's important in a few moments here. But it's a very solid card. And then next up, our new juiced Dynasmon, the one that's really kind of inspired me to make this list, is our brand new BT-23 Dynasmon. So he's only a rare, but he's a pretty insane card. So he has barrier inherently, right? On play and on Evo, you can trash your top security card. And then all of your opponent's Digimon get minus 6,000 DP for the turn. So kind of like a mini ruin mode in a way, where he's doing more DP reduction, but it's only for the turn. It doesn't linger over. And keep in mind too, he can Evo for 3, or for a cost of 3 rather, over a Wachelny trait or a CS trait. So he can go for 3. You don't have to worry about this 4 cost. You can go over Mistymon or Chirinmon for a cost of 3, which is really good. Especially when Chirin's reducing it by 2. So you're going to go into him for 1 over Chirin if you use his effect. Or, you know, go over, over Misty for 3, which is still fine. You know, cheaper if you use a training or a scramble, something like that. But then he also has the very cool effect of all turns once per turn when your security stack is removed from, this Digimon gains sec +1 until your turn ends. Then if you have 3 or fewer security cards, you recover 1. So he sets you up to help you recover, which can kind of render Dynasx a little bit kind of meh, but it's pretty good just for letting you kind of get that security back to where you are. Like if you put yourself to 0, it just helps you recover back. Like it's just good. It's just a good effect to have. It's very, very nice. But keep in mind, it only procs when your security stack is removed from. So realistically, you're never really going to +1 off of this. You're only ever going to just break even on security, which is kind of part of the issue with Dynas. Dynas really needs a way to better recover itself after it does its damage to itself, because it definitely hurts itself very, 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 very much. But yeah, he's a very powerful card. Getting that sec +1 for the turn is very important, especially for the OTK that I am going to describe in a few moments. So that's him there. That's our new stuff there. Okay, so let's describe the combo for this whole Dynasmon strategy here, right? So what you're going to do is you're going to go Dynas. You're going to go ahead and burn your top security. You'll nuke the board somewhat, at least, unless there's a big boss monster. You have to deal with that. You'll go ahead. You'll gain that sec +1 for the turn. And then, you know, you'll recover 1 if you're at 3 or fewer. You probably will be at this point with climbing up your line. You just naturally put yourself at like 2 security typically, or 3 or 2 security. You gain the sec +1. You go ahead, you swing into security, do the 2 checks, right? If you get the barrier off, that's fine. You can, you know, use Mistymon's effect to go ahead and unsuspend at that point. You'll go into Dynasx. Dynasx effect will allow you to go ahead and burn your top security to trash your opponent's top security, and you'll get +6 KDP. At this point, if you have not already suspended or unsuspended yourself off of Mistymon's inheritable effect, you will go ahead and use Mistymon's inherit effect now to unsuspend yourself. You've now done 2 damage off of security, off of the original Dynas, right? And you've burned 1. And then you'll swing for 2 more checks with Dynasx, putting your opponent at 0 security. And then you go into Omni X and end of turn swing for game, right? So that's the idea of the combo. That's the OTK idea there. So just to kind of describe it while we're on this Dynasmon, that's what you're going to want to do. You know, it's very sort of a niche combo. If it's something you want to focus on, it's something you would definitely, you know, you would probably do Cheering at 3, 4 of Misty, maybe no Ruin mode, just run 2 Omni X just to try and guarantee that you see it every time. And then you'd probably run something like the brand new red yellow boost or whatever to make sure that you can pick up both Omni and all of your yellow cards from your deck when you're doing your search, right? My build's a little bit more kind of control, like focus, yada yada, where I'm just kind of like splitting the difference, which is not a good idea by any means. To be clear, I know it's a bad idea, but I just want to see which variant kind of feels better. And if the OTK feels like reliable enough, or like there's enough potential there with just this build variant, then I would probably lean more into that. But I'm also just wanting to test being a bit more like efficient on climbing my line and controlling board and like Ruin mode stuff and doing other things. You know, but like realistically, you typically just want to go for the high roll and just, if you can OTK your opponent, you OTK your opponent. That's the best way to play the game right now. I'm just trying to be a little bit fancy with what I'm doing. Well, not even fancy, different. I'm trying to be different. Anyways, so that's that there. Jumping into the rest of the deck here, we have 1 copy of Omni X. I'm not going to explain him. You know him. You love him or hate him. He's a very, very powerful card. There's a reason he's in the deck. Your top end's all red. He can go over red, and you have X anybody access, so you can get the full effect off of his Evo, which is really, really nice. 1 copy of Ruin mode, just nice to kind of help like lock out your opponent for a turn. It can sometimes just put you on game point with that very effect. So it just works out. It's a good card. It's powerful. You know, no reason not to run it right now. But like I said, I would maybe cut this for a second Omni X if I was going to try and focus more on the OTK strategy. We run 3 copies of Kari Kamiya. So she's a memory setter, which is really, really nice. But she also has, when a card is added to your security stack, you can suspend her to gain a memory. So this comes up because it helps you just make Dynas like potentially a free Evo off of Cheering if you do it right, because you'll Evo for the reduced cost of 1, and then you can gain a memory off of the recovery, and just, you know, just put yourself exactly where you were when you started the whole Evo evolution process. Or even if you do that and you don't tap Kari or whatever, yada yada, let's say you put yourself at 0 memory, you Evo into Dynas X for 1, end of turn you do the recovery, you can go ahead and tap Kari to go ahead and, you know, gain a memory, slide turn back to yourself. And because this Dynas X effect is not once per turn for the end of turn, when you inevitably pass turn again, you'll just recover another security if you're at 2 or fewer still. So it's just very, very good for like sort of like when you're really low on your security, to just help you recover multiple in a turn if you can kind of toss the memory that way. And it's not necessarily the hardest thing to do with this deck. You can pretty much like you can gauge the memory well enough. Typically, you'll definitely get stuck in weird instances sometimes, but if you're starting your turn from 3 memory, you should be able to finagle your way there. Jumping into options, 3 copies of Revelation of Light, just really nice. Just because when you burn it from security, you activate the security effect to just nuke everything by -5. Both all of your opponent's Digimon and the security Digimon. So like if you burn this off of going into this Dynas, you just -11k the board, which is a lot of DP to reduce. And that's not including any other effects you've already reduced DP with this turn by evoing up your line. So you get a lot of DP reduction out of it. And then its main effect in general is really nice too, where you can just spit out a level 4 or lower Digimon card without paying the cost, and then you can shuffle security stack. And then if you have a Tamer with card Kamiya, you can place this card on top of your security, which allows you to do kind of funky plays where like you can drop Repamon, you can drop Wizard, you can play Revelation of Light, spit out Wizard, spit out Repa, something like that, yada yada. Revelation of Light will go ahead and get tucked into security if you have Kari, and then you can activate their on plays to trash Revelation of Light to then go ahead and nuke the board -5. Or whatever, right? Like you can kind of just do that and get some really funny effects out of it. So it's a very decent kind of combo that can work out, and you can do a lot of damage, especially with Repamon being able to minus an extra 3k, so you can just minus 8k off of that, or even burn an extra 6k, so you can do a -11 off of that. So very powerful, very good effect. It's a funny little combo you can do with some of the stuff. But yeah, that's kind of the general idea there, the general gist. Jumping in the next option card, 2 scrambles. We like our cost reduction for evos, and just being able to kind of come back into the game is always helpful. 4 physical training, so I just wanted to be able to reduce evo costs and consistently find my other options cards as well as majority of my deck. But like I said, there's if I was running that OTK version, I'd probably swap these out for the, I can't remember the boost's name. It's the Hawkmon and Gatomon boost or whatever. That's from one of the LM things. I can't remember what the name of it. I think it's a red card, but it looks for red or yellow, and it ignores color requirements as long as you have a yellow Digimon or whatever in the field. And then we run 2 copies of Protoform. It's just really good for helping you kind of reduce that evo cost into Dynasx. If you need to, it lets you get access to all of OmniX's powers or abilities, his full usage, if you will. So just good to have, and reduces that evo cost by that perfect one to let you go into Dynasx for free. And just helps you net pieces back too, right? If you're gonna get that stack get wiped, you can even use the Protoform effect to go ahead, grab a card back from the stack, put Protoform on top of security, and then use like one of these, like the Candlemon or Tapermon or Wizardmon Inherit to go ahead and give yourself to protect yourself and not leave. But you probably wouldn't want to do that because you'll burn Protoform, so I wouldn't recommend it because you will just trash Protoform right off of doing that. So you probably trash security first, and you just leave Protoform as a means of recovering yourself and getting stuff back, because it's just another form of recovery in the deck. But the option's there if you want to do that. I just wouldn't recommend it. But yeah, that's the list. That's the general idea. So it's pretty fun. Like I said, it's Dynasmon. He can do some funny things. We have had Dynas like randomly top events and stuff. It can definitely, like, if it sees the right day. I mean, you can say this about any deck, but if it sees the right day, he can do some pretty cool things. But I just like Dynasmon. I just think he's a cool Digimon. I think he's neat. He doesn't get enough love. So it's nice to, just kind of be able to mess around with the build a little bit and do some stuff. I actually think the more I'm looking at this, the more I'm talking about the OTK, the more I'm just getting like that itch to just like focus on the OTK. So I actually might swap the build over to that and test that out pretty soon and let you guys know how that goes. But if you have any comments, any suggestions for the build, or any other Dynas ideas, I feel like there's a lot of different ways you can build Dynas with all the different cards we have access to right now. And there's definitely plenty of ways you can utilize CS cards like this guy if you want to just use him. But that'll about do it for me. Thank you guys for watching. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, give it a like. Consider sticking around the channel. Go check out our other content. We have plenty of match play commentary. We have our deck check series that Ben and I do, or I do it with the other boys just in general, or by myself sometimes. Of course, we have our deck profiles that we do. We're doing Gundam content. We have loads of stuff coming out every day. So please stick around. And Rio shorts. Rio's card opening shorts are phenomenal. They're so good. I think he just recently pulled something crazy. I don't remember what it was. I think it was an SP. Yeah. But yeah, that's gonna be it. Thank you guys again for watching, and we'll catch you on the flippy flip. Bye bye.